Hello, everybody. Bobby here for Full Tilt Weather. We're going to go ahead and go through this forecast for the 29th and 30th, including parts of West Texas all the way into central Mississippi. Appears to be the primary threat. Models are varying between initiation between 8 in the afternoon and 2 in the morning. So there could be some severe weather Tuesday, but most of this is going to trend more towards Wednesday morning for East Texas, uh, late Tuesday night for West Texas, and then going into the morning hours for Louisiana, and all the way into Mississippi by afternoon to night, Wednesday night. So this is where the line's expected to fire now. It moved back just a little bit from what I was saying earlier in the forecast on Facebook. We're looking at everything firing right here between Wichita Falls to just south of San Angelo. This line will probably be isolated severe. Probably be a couple of severe warnings somewhere between San Angelo and Brownwood. This is a extremely hard area to storm chase in right here. There's a set of ICBMUs, long range nuclear missiles, that are out in this area. Whenever you get south of Dublin, Texas to Brownwood, you can't get service for nothing. It's U.S. jammers. Been there, done that. But moving forward, this line's expecting to go very quickly. This is going to be a very fast moving line. Whenever it moves over your house, if you don't see anything on that front line, you're probably not going to see severe weather that day. Nothing expected to be behind it. Just the front of this line is going to be your primary threat. This is what's called a linear line. As you can see, it is very linear. Line is expected to grow more towards DFW, right along I-40 in Oklahoma, extending down to around Waco in Texas at this point. This is 4 in the morning. This is the area the primary tornado threat comes in. Line's expected to be stretching from Bryan, Texas to around Springfield, Missouri. There appears to be two areas of possible rotation. Right in between 44 and 40, up in northern Oklahoma, northeast Oklahoma, maybe including some of very southern Kansas and very southwest Missouri, and maybe some of eastern Arkansas. Secondary area is right along here, in between I-20 and around Bryan, Austin, that area. This line could produce some tornadoes. They're going to be really, really fast spin up tornadoes. So what happens is you get southwesternly coming into these lines really, really quickly. You get little spiked rotations occurring. Leads to small, really quick spin up tornadoes. Sometimes they're so quick the radar doesn't even catch them. That can happen. This is going to, primary threat for this is going to be 60 to 75 mile an hour winds right on this line. But a couple of tornadoes are going to be possible. This is going to be our primary target run right here, 7 in the morning for East Texas, extending until about 9 until it hits Shreveport probably. And the model shows it right here, moving forward in 3 hours already on the Shreveport line. So this area right through here, same area I was targeting on Facebook, appears to be the place. Unfortunately, I live in Palestine, Texas right here, so I won't have to drive very far. But the line's supposed to be all the way up into Illinois by this point. Very linear. Primarily wind threat. Most of this up here is very low chance severe. And this early cycle, tornadoes are possible, but it's not a massive threat along this line, I don't think. I do expect there to be a couple, but I don't think it's going to be a widespread tornado event unless something changes. Okay, so let's go through the numbers for this area right now. This is tornadic parameter. Sometimes this is right, sometimes it's not. Take it with a grain of salt. You really need to be able to go over numbers. As you can see, we get a little parameter right over Dallas, heading into Louisiana. And we didn't go into Louisiana yet, but this is where your bigger tornado threat lies for Wednesday. So we're going to take this run right here. This is for somewhere between Carthage and Shreveport. Right in that area. 118 megajoule Cape right here. 108. 1008. Man, I can't get my numbers together this morning apparently. That's not a very explosive atmosphere. Storm's moving northeast. You can tell that from the hodograph. There's a CIN issue. Linear, you can tell that by the SQT. Tornado possible at best. This is not a good run. Let's take another one further back from the line, maybe. Maybe we're actually in front of the line there. That's a possibility. 800. 64 mile an hour southwesternly. D-Cape's up. Inhibition's an issue. Northeasternly mover. This ain't much better. Inhibition... Cape's worse, inhibition's lower. Not great. Let's switch over to Cape and see if we can find a high caped area. That same area I was targeting earlier. Okay. Let's see what this pool looks like. 1800. Jets having an issue. These are more single cells. They'd be more wrapped. You can tell that from the dew point. Not right. Push it up right on this line. 1500 megajoule. That might be enough to spin up a tornado. Okay, 2000 ground. Line's doing all kinds of weird stuff here. Hodographs all over the map, moving northeast. It's splitting at this point. So model thinks it'll actually split through here. You can tell that by this ungodly, unusual looking hodograph. This exact model run is not particularly favoring a lot of tornadoes through this area, but I do believe that does stay solid, and I believe there is a chance through here just by the variation of the winds. I would still favor this relative area for one or two isolated tornadoes. There's nothing here that stands out that just screams, oh, well, this is tornado central or anything, but 1600, 64 knot southwesternly, 654 D-Cape. There's a bulge in the line there, so it's kind of separating. CIN's 11, level of free convection's over the top, moving north-northeast, and she's pretty strong in this run. It's not a bad run. This is for right around Greenville, probably. From where I took that pull. Somewhere just a little east of Dallas. Greenville, maybe a little north of Rockwall. It's a pretty solid run. Even the model thinks it's on the ground. You can tell it by the slink right here. It thinks it's a ground-touching tornado. Maybe that's more where we trend, but I wouldn't quite say that 100% because the trending's been from the eastern side of Dallas to down around Austin. kind of in a straight line, right through that area has been the place that's been very possible of tornadoes for the last couple of days. This was a possibility we were looking at Saturday, even last week. Like we're already doing forecast on the 6th and the 7th already. But this kind of looks to be the area for there. Now let's talk about the bigger risk for the day. This is going to wind up being a long video. Okay. Models are thinking there could be discretes form along the line by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon into Mississippi. So you have your linear line right here, all the way up from Chicago, Illinois, into the Gulf of Mexico. This is a fairly linear line. You have possible discretes forming in front of the line. Discretes are the most scariest type of cells. Like we saw last Monday, the discrete I was on north of Taylor, Texas. Cells get out and they get individualized. They get into nice shear. They explode. If you look at history, like, people love to bring up Joplin or Moore. These were all discrete supercells. Large, massive cells. 12 to 24 miles long. Usually by 11 to 15 miles wide. Pretty small cells. If you look at them in the sky, you're all like, oh, well, that's not all that bad. But that's where your massive tornadoes come from. They don't come from linear lines like this. Tornadoes that are the size of houses or maybe buildings come from linear lines. These are little spin-up tornadoes. And a lot of times they never even touch the ground. And some of them can be even smaller than a house. Another thing that the models are thinking is right along I-20 to the southern part, to I-10, there to be separation. So linear segmentation here is possible. Because you're dealing with, right along this line, there's bowings. This is your segmentations, could have tornadoes there. So basically, a linear line, the largest tornado recorded is EF3. Usually linear rotation is somewhere between 0s to 2, right in that area. Discrete cells, whenever they do it, are usually 3s, 4s, and 5s. There's never been a 4 that wasn't discrete. Linear segmentation can get up to a 4. They don't necessarily mean that's what's going to occur here. I mean, you can have a cell do anything it wants to do. It can look like a massive threat and never drop a tornado. It can happen. I remember one in 16 we chased in Protection, Kansas. High base cell was warned for tornadoes. I think 7 different runs. Never showed a funnel. It was high based. Produced 3-inch hail. I mean, it's all according to the day. Things can always change. But moving forward, that line's supposed to move back into a linear formation. So this window of opportunity there is rather small. Then you begin to move back into linearization here, or what's called QCLS. Quasar linear line. This is more of your smaller tornado risk, but probably a lot of them. Most of this line through this depiction, probably all the way from around Clarksdale to north of New Orleans, there's going to be a lot of tornadoes in this line. And if not, there's going to be a lot of tornado warnings in this line. This line's going to be locked and loaded. Going to be moving really fast, though. So, if the line gets past you, you can download a real simple radar, MSMR radar, your local news station or whatever. That line's past you, you're good. If you're in front of this line, well, you still have a problem. If you're in Collins right here, well, in this depiction, you would have a problem. I don't want to say Hattiesburg. I've seen 5 tornadoes there. But moving forward, this line is expected to begin to break a little bit more heading into Alabama and become less of a threat. This is kind of our last run because this is the furthest our 84-hour models are going out right now. So this is kind of where we stop. That kind of looks a little ominous, but we're going to go ahead and go through the numbers for this now. Okay, that first break I was talking about right here. So if you wanted to put it by percentage, we're talking 50 to 70% chance. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. CIN's low, 1500 megajoule. LFC's online, got a bump in it. 67 knot, 67 mile southwesternly, equating that off of knottage. Decape's a little weak, pointed up. Model thinks it's a PDS run, particularly dangerous scenario, or as we call it usually, particularly dangerous life-threatening tornado, or particularly dangerous life-threatening scenario. This looks like a linear segmentation, and more than likely will start just west of Alexandria, Louisiana. That kind of appears to be the place, and it's been the place for the last couple of days. Model thinks it's on the ground. Yeah, right about in here. That's real close to Alexandria. But anywhere on this line could produce a tornado. I think there'll probably be 1 or 2. Unless the line stays linear, then we stay away from large tornado threats. Either one's possible. Betting on a linear line to go into segmentation or single cell discrete is a very hard bet because you never really know that's going to occur. And especially with these cold fronts, with the gain or lossage of CAPE is something you would usually use in a warm front. Well, we're dealing with cold fronts. You look at last Tuesday, we didn't go out east, but there was supposed to be an expected break in the line right here. Pretty much center of that break was expected to be right about here, which would be Brookhaven, Mississippi. It never happened. The line never broke. I mean, the same thing could happen here, but the possibility of it breaking does exist. I'm not going to say 100% it will break. I'm not going to say 100% it won't. But people need to be aware that along this line right through here, most of Mississippi and the center part of Louisiana has a pretty high tornado risk. Monday during the day. Then we push it forward, and there's your breakdown. Right on the border. These numbers are going to be relatively about the same. I don't expect a large spike up or down. Yeah, this is pretty identical run. Level of buoyancy is a little different here. Decape's a little stronger. Identical run, pretty much. That appears to be the primary threat area. Right along this linear line are smaller cells forming in front of it. But that's kind of what we're looking at for Tuesday night into Wednesday. We almost went into Wednesday night here because this last run's what, 7? Yeah. So we covered all the way from about 10 o'clock at night Tuesday all the way into 7 o'clock in the morning Wednesday. Okay. That's kind of what we're looking at, guys. Hopefully you liked the video. Throw a comment down there. Tell me how terrible I am. I know I'm not a broadcast meteorologist for sure. I'm a ground chase meteorologist. That's what I do. But thank you everybody that watches this video, and if you didn't, well, there you go. Y'all have a good day though. I'm gonna go ahead and get off here.